Hello, Suby. Thanks for joining us today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How about you?
Fantastic. So, Suby, you're CEO of FinMont. Tell us a little bit about yourself, perhaps a fun fact.
Sure. Thanks for having me. My name is Suby Valuri. I'm the co-founder of FinMont. FinMont is a payment orchestration platform for travel merchants, and my background is in software engineering, product management, and innovation management. I worked across multiple industries like banking, e-commerce, and travel. Fun fact about me is I spent significant amount of my time in three countries: Germany, UK, and US. I love to travel and explore various cultures and their cuisine. And I also love to watch soccer and cricket.
Awesome. Yeah, I love soccer too. That's great. Thanks again for joining our show today. So, Subi, curious more about your entrepreneurial journey. What has that been like? So, you currently, you're co-founder of FinMont. What has been your entrepreneurial journey up until this point? What brought you to this new venture?
Yes. So I have been always, in my past experience, I have been always someone who is finding the using technology to make it, to make complex systems simple. So that's been always my motto. And then I was working in Hahn as an innovation manager. And during that time, as you know that, let's say 6 to 7, 8 years ago, how many payment methods do we have? It's mostly probably, yeah.
Yeah, a couple payment methods. I mean, credit cards for sure.
Yeah.
Visa, right? Yeah.
Exactly. So how many types of payment methods we have? That maybe four or five, like credit cards, debit cards, bank
Hmm.
transfer. And now, if you see, every country have their own local payment methods.
Yeah, that's right.
And then travel industry by default does a lot of cross-border transactions. So that means to have a better conversion rates, they need to offer all those local payment methods where travelers develop certain habits, right? If you
Hmm.
used to use your Apple Wallet and you don't want to use, I mean, you don't want to pull your credit card and use it, right? You just want to use your Apple Wallet or it may be Google Wallet or something else. So that's the habit formation, and you need to serve the customers in that way to capture that market. So that means from the travel industry side, they need to offer multiple payment methods across multiple countries. So that's the complexity we had at Hahn when I was working for them. Then we decided, as usual, build versus buy decision. And then, as travel industry is very specific, the risk in travel industry is very specific compared to e-commerce industry. For example, if you order something in Amazon, you get it in 2 days or max 6 days. So then the transaction is finished. But for travel, you can book your ticket even 6 months to 8 months in advance. So then the merchant has a risk exposure all this time. So that's where we decided to design a payment orchestration solution specifically for travel merchants that connects with multiple distribution partners across the payment value chain and the travel value chain. That's the motivation for us. We built FinMont, and the same since we founded the company. And yeah, that's what we did.
Nice. Awesome. And how long has that been?
So it's almost like 3.5 years now.
Nice. Yeah. That's great. So what would you say are your core offerings? So maybe let's take a step back. All right. So you touched on payment orchestration for airlines or for travel. How would you describe what that is in itself? What is payment orchestration?
Sure. In a very basic level, I mean, it's a payment gateway in a basic level. But what's the difference between payment gateway and payment orchestration? Usually, in the payment value chain, usually payment gateways are working with one or two acquirers, right?
Mhm.
In most cases, just one acquirer. But payment orchestration is an intelligent layer on top of that that works with multiple payment service providers or acquirers all across the world. So they're agnostic to which payment service provider that merchant wants to use. So you can think of it like a hub, like a payments hub. And on one side, we are connected with lots of payment service providers, fraud providers, foreign exchange providers, whomever provide value within the travel payments value chain for travel industry. We connect with all those partners on one direction. I mean, one end. On the other end, it will be airlines, online travel agencies. They are consuming this service, so they just plug and play. And what is the alternative solution they have? The alternative solution is they need to make these connections by themselves. That's what
Mm,
actually they were doing. I mean, many of them are doing still that, but before that's what everyone is doing. Like 8 years ago, it was easy because if it is like 3 connections, 4 connections, it's easy. But now, if you have all these alternative payment methods and then to manage all these connections, it became complex. That's how payment orchestration service evolved. I mean, that's how
interesting. Yeah.
it
No,
evolved.
that totally makes sense. So just out of curiosity, let's say pick one of those big airlines. Like, what's a typical or average number of payment providers or integrators they'll be
Yes,
connecting with?
it's a real good. I mean, it's really important question. And on an average, they will have 3 to 4 minimum.
Okay. Yeah.
Three
Yeah.
to
And
four
across different regions too, right?
Exactly. I mean, 3 to 4 acquirers minimum. I'm only talking about acquirers. Then we are talking about fraud platforms or foreign exchange or chargeback solutions. So it could be other solutions as well. So when we add them, it will be minimum 6.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And so FinMont comes in and just makes this a lot easier for these like
Yes.
airlines and agencies so that they can just you orchestrate these integrations, but do a lot of these transactions flow through or I guess they still flow through the different vendors, right? They don't flow through FinMont specifically, the transactions.
They will flow through FinMont. FinMont is acts like a payment hub. FinMont takes the rule set from the payments manager from airlines or online travel agencies, and then directs the payments based on their set of criteria. So let
Okay.
us say, or it can be done by artificial intelligence as well these days. It all depends on how much data they have. And again, when we step back a little bit about all these technical details about payment orchestration, if you look at why we exist, there should be a problem we are solving, right? Purely from the benefits perspective. So I see payment orchestration solves three three problems basically. One is to improve the conversion rates. And what is conversion rate? How it can be improved? It can be improved basically by offering all the local payment methods, whatever the passengers in this case preferred. That's how you improve your conversion rate. And then you also control your payment cost, the overall payment cost, not just what you pay payment service providers, but also you need to consider chargebacks into your account and all the other costs. So the idea is, for example, we do something like for credit card payments, we do level 3 processing. So in a simple words, gather more data about the passenger so that the acquiring banks can don't flag it as a risky transaction
Risky
so
transaction.
that
Yeah.
the payment cost will be lower. So that's one strategy. Like that, we have multiple strategies to decrease the payment cost. So the first is conversion rate, the second one is payment cost, and third one is to decrease the fraud rates. So by
Got it.
integrating the fraud systems within the value chain, you have a clear transparency and visibility. So by with this all these three benefits, we every feature that we develop, we take into account all these 3 aspects.
Fantastic. Awesome. Great. Yeah, no, that's pretty clear. And yeah, of course, you always want to think about why, I love the way you framed it. Why do we exist? These are the three problems that we're solving, right? And that's pretty clear. So, you've been in the industry for a while, whether coming from airlines and also into payments. What are some trends that you're seeing currently, whether it's in the fintech space in general or specifically in payments itself? Any trends that you're seeing? You could go as narrow as into payment orchestration or just payments in a broader
I think we
stroke.
can start with the broad trends and then go to
Hmm.
the payment orchestration. From the broad perspective, at least in the last 6 months to 1 year, I have seen a lot of movement in stablecoin space, especially in the US with Genius Act, for example. That's the space which is, I mean, really for B2B transactions, it's growing quite a lot. And another mega trend I see is using AI in fraud detection, for example, because the fraud is also evolving with AI. So the fraud detection tools, and that's the broad trends. And then obviously, you know that like BNPL, like buy now pay
Buy now,
later,
pay later.
and instant payments in multiple countries, bank to bank transfer or open payments. This is a trend almost in the last 2 years, not just in 1 year. Last 2 years, this is one of the mega trend. But then when we talk about payment orchestration, I think many merchants are taking this multi-acquirer strategy to have multiple acquirers to spread their risk. It's not just about cost. Sometimes they want to have negotiating power as well to spread their risk. Because if you are connected with, if you are working with multiple providers, then at least you have a backup solution if something goes wrong.
Yeah.
So
Like redundancy, would you
yes,
say?
exactly. And I think also using AI, if you have enough data, I mean, if you have enough data using AI in payment orchestration routing, that, and then specifically to within travel industry, we have NDC standard.
What is that?
NDC is new distribution capability is a standard defined by IATA. IATA is the International Air Transport Association, and they define this standard to prepare travel industry for modern retailing. So basically updating all the message types and how different parties communicate so that
Hmm.
they can offer the end customer rich content, not just for example, let's say for an airline, not just having the flights and all, but ancillary services, all other
Got it.
ancillary services to provide the rich content in different distribution channels. So that's very travel specific, and also I would say more and more. Of course, virtual cards always have their fine share in B2B payments, but also account to account payments are also increasing in this space.
Any of these things you've mentioned, whether it's with regards to, it's interesting what you mentioned about the orchestration routing and even the B2B. Any of these you would say FinMont is really doubling down on in terms of, like,
Yes.
riding these waves and trends and rolling these?
Yes. From the payment orchestration perspective, as I said, supporting the routing capabilities using AI, and that's like minimum things we need to do anyway. But on top of that, I would say we are preparing for ourselves. We already have solutions for NDC, specifically for the travel industry. As you know, FinMont is very specific for travel industry. That's our
Travel.
core objective from the beginning.
Yeah.
So, and then also expanding account to account transactions within our platform.
Hmm.
B2B wallets, and also bringing stable coins. So for B2B transactions, especially for the cross-border transactions to reduce the settlement time.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, those are great. Subi, thanks for sharing those. Let's maybe just switching gears a little bit. I was curious more, FinMont as a co-founder of it, you're also CEO, is that right?
Yes,
Just out of curiosity, what is that like? What's a typical day life? Typical day in the life of FinMont CEO. What does it maybe paint as a summarizer or dumbed down view for us?
exactly. So I would say there is no template here for me, but I would say as a startup CEO, your role will always evolve. Every month, your role will evolve. It's a moving target. So why? Let's say when we started the company at the beginning, my focus is all getting the right tech talent, for example.
Hmm.
Once that problem is solved, then I move to sales, for example, or then releasing MVP. So always the most interesting thing about this position is you always learn new stuff and update yourself, and it's always challenging and exciting for you because every couple of months you have a new target. You're basically not repeating anything. You achieve some goals and then you go to the next goal. So it's evolving every quarter.
Yeah.
So, for example, I will give you, for example, at this, I mean, for this quarter, of course, sales we are doing, but apart from that, we decided we need to shorten the time frame between signing the contract and implementing the integration because we are talking about really involving a lot of big systems, third-party systems uh, within the travel industry, right? It is not a
Hmm.
simple turn on thing here. So we need to connect with multiple parties to have this orchestration work. So now our target is more like how can we reduce the time of integration? Where do we have the blind spots? How can we optimize it? So
So
that
do you feel like that's where you spend the most of your time
most of the time for
these
this
days?
quarter, yes, these days, that's where I spend most of my time.
Yeah. So how are you approaching this? Are you spending time with the technical team? Are you spending more time with are you kind of doing it more of a strategic thing? Like, so Yeah,
All of the above. So
all
I
of the
spend a
above.
lot of
Okay.
time, I spend all of my, I mean, most of the time with my technical team to see where we have bottlenecks and how can we improve our system processes. That's one thing. On the another side, I will see what other integrations we need to do with the third party providers
Mhm.
so that once we sign the contract, we are pre-configured and it's easy to move forward. So that's more also from strategic perspective. There we need to do some investments to integrate with PSS systems in terminology or booking engines, for example. So all of them, whomever have a lot of visibility and market power to already pre-integrate them so that we can reduce this time. This is just an example. Like that, there are different aspects.
Yeah, yeah. And I know you come from a software engineering background.
Yes.
I'm sure you also look at solutions from those lens as well, I would imagine, in terms of what's already working and what's not, right? Yeah, interesting.
Yes, I mean that for sure. That's very important perspective as well, right? Because whatever we take a business decision or strategic plan, at the end it boils down to implementation. Because without
Hmm.
execution, you can have a strategy, but what for? So it goes
Hmm.
to execution. That's where comes my lens of software engineering. That helps me a lot.
Yeah, yeah. And would you say that's valuable for most founders, like startup founders?
It depends on a startup. I mean, like it depends on a startup, and also, I mean, it's good to have, but it doesn't mean exactly every co-founder need to have. They can complement the skills as well, right?
True. Yeah, makes sense. It depends on your team around you too, right? So
Exactly.
different
So it's
different
team
strengths,
around
different.
you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. So just to kind of wrap that part a little bit. So if there was say two things you had to, let's say you had the wish to make, there were only two things you had to improve in FinMont today, what would those two things be?
I think two things that I will improve is the integration time at the moment. Of course, we are still the fast, but still we want to reduce the time frame as much as possible.
Yeah.
So that's number one. And then I think the second thing I would like to also improve is like how we test our new features, for example, in collaboration with our partners or our clients
Hmm.
to receive their feedback. It's not just testing, but to receive their feedback and to shorten that time. Actually, it's all about shortening the time now. It's all about efficiency, to be honest. Maybe I'm a little bit biased. It's just because this quarter I'm only thinking about this. That's why my answers reflect that. I mean, that's kind of my current state of mind. So it seems
So
whatever you ask, I will go there.
so in 6 months' time, I may, the
Exactly.
answer may
Within six
change, right?
months,
Yeah.
it will be something different, I will tell you.
Yeah, yeah. Because at the end of the day, it's all about efficiency, speed, whether it's with regards to the integration, the implementation side of things, or the quality
But one
assurance,
more thing,
right? Yeah.
I think one more thing I'm also very cautious about is with advent of AI, things are changing very fast.
Hmm. Hmm.
Whether it is agentic commerce, so or stable coins, many things are changing quite a lot. It's not an improvement. One of the my big task is just to be aware of all these changes
Hmm.
as it's going really on a fast pace and what it means for FinMont and our
Hmm.
customers. That is basically my big question every day I need to ask myself
Yeah,
so that we stay relevant in long-term basis.
yeah. And in this landscape today, that's a smart thing to do, right?
Yes.
And when I speak with other like business leaders, some of the things they also I've heard is around like the top of the funnel with regards to like those end users. So like whether it's for you, it's airlines and airline agencies and whatnot. Is that the same for you, or is that different, or is it all efficiency and speed and time? Is the top of funnel, is that something top of a mind for you as well, as a CEO?
It's always right because I think one of the most important tasks for any CEO is taking care of sales, at least for a startup CEO.
Mm, mm,
Because that's what to make or break a startup, right? So you
mhm.
need to deliver your promise and you need to make sales, right? These two, it's mostly about sales and execution. That's all it
Sales and
matters for
execution.
the startup, right?
Yeah,
So obviously that's by default.
yeah. Makes
It's,
sense. Makes sense. Yeah, no, that makes sense. So Subi, if you're thinking about, say, the next 6, 12 months, what would you say is the vision that you have for FinMont?
shorten the time frames of execution. And then the second thing is translate our FinMont products in this new age of AI to make them more relevant. That's my main goal for the next 12 months.
Makes sense. Cool. Awesome. Awesome. So Subi, thanks a lot for very insightful responses. I really like them. I like how you're thinking as well as a CEO as well. You're not trying to get complacent. You're trying to evolve with the industry, the market trends as well, and you keeping up to speed. That sounds like a recipe for a successful business, really. So that's great. What advice would you have for other than what you've already shared, what other advice would you have for fintech founders, maybe ones that are still early in their journey, but also ones who are thinking of leveraging payment orchestration? Maybe they've never thought about it before. So those two camps, right? Any tips or advice you'd love to share?
Yes. For startup founders, I think the most important thing what I learned is sometimes, of course, any startup is a trial and error experiment, in my opinion, at least at the initial stage. So the more you talk with your customers or your future customers, the more you will increase your success rate. It's all about listening to your future customers and then finding a patterns inside that and trying to differentiate if it is if it medicine or a vitamin, like really something that they have a burning problem to solve, real pain, and they will just, of course, I know it's always easy to say these things than really doing this, but the solution is talking to customers as much as possible before you start single line of code. Because coding, we shouldn't fall in the trap. It's all like sometimes we have these ideas and then we just want to see that. We just go and start implementing them and all those things. I think we need to resist that and go and do as much market research as possible, find some sort of initial validation, and then invest your time in developing and continuous iteration. I think that improves your success rate or even your luck in my eyes. So
Yeah.
that's important. And also one more thing important for startups is very important is try to, let's say I try one idea in the market, but then there is a little deviation, or maybe I see some another product or idea. Then I think then then you need to make a call if you need to pivot before you run out of the funds, because at the end of the day your limiting factor is how much money you still have in your bank account, right? So whatever experiments you do before this money runs out, so that you have a solid product. That's your aim, actually. First month is just, this is your goal. So don't judge it, just pivot if it's needed. I think if you follow these two, I think it's a for me. I think these two things what I learned out of my own mistakes.
Those are really good tips. Don't be afraid to pivot when you need to.
Yes. So, and then when you talk about payment orchestration, when you talk about merchants in general who wants to use payment orchestration, I just want to say payment orchestration is not for everyone. If you are just working within one country, for example, and then you are just dealing with one or two acquirers, maybe you're not a suitable candidate for payment orchestration. But the moment you have cross-border transactions and if you're operating in multiple countries, I think payment orchestration is is a really efficient solution to manage all this, because payments, as I said, payments is evolving every day. And more payments are becoming kind of a nationalistic thing. It's like every country have their own payment methods. If you have your customers from all these countries, if you need to improve your conversion rates, you need to follow their habits, right? You can't change their habit. So that means you need to offer those payment methods and in an efficient manner. At the same time, it doesn't create risk to you as a
Right.
merchant, because you can offer many payment methods, but maybe some of them doesn't suits to your solution because your risk tolerance is different. So I think that's what I say. And also, yes, in some sense, we can generalize across different industries, but then you know that things are always, it's verticalized. Travel industry works, the risk patterns or how travel industry works and what are the major players are very different. what kind of systems are inside the travel industry is very different to gaming industry, for example.
Yeah.
So choosing a partner, having that domain expertise helps you a long way. I think if you follow these two,
Mhm.
I think it
Yeah.
covers most of the use cases.
That makes sense. That's a really really good advice. You have to know every partner's got their different kind of not
Exactly.
niche per se, but like their strong suit, right? So yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, that's great, Subi. Thanks so much for all your insights you've shared today, and thanks for taking the time to join us today. And wishing you all the best.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for your time.
Okay, take care. Have a good one.
Take care.